Hello, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast. I am Jai Gobind and I am your channel for grace. Thank you so much for watching this replay and thank you guys for being here live. Welcome to our new show called The Awakening, Uncovering the Power of Your DNA. I've been for a very long time researching all kinds of things, talking about meditation. I'm a yoga teacher, spiritual teacher, and this topic is something that fascinates me. So what we're going to be doing for the next few weeks with this specific broadcast is going over this amazing book called The Gene Keys by Richard Rudd. So if you're curious and you want to know more, make sure that you purchase this book. It's called Embracing Your Higher Purpose. It basically goes through the 64 gene keys, which we're going to talk a little bit more about. And the other one that I would recommend you get is called The Gene Keys Golden Path, a step-by-step guide to your hologenetic profile. And this book is about the activation sequence, discovering your genius, also by Richard Rudd. So it's very exciting to begin this journey with you guys. We are broadcasting on my Periscope channel, and we are also broadcasting on my YouTube channel, which is Channel for Grace, which you can follow on YouTube. Let's see who's in the chat. Gemini, how's it going? Welcome in. Ellie, I know you came in and then you had to leave, but thank you so much for inviting your followers and sharing on Twitter and for the super hearts. And Amy, welcome to the broadcast. Thank you for inviting your followers and sharing this broadcast on Twitter as well. Detroit Bob, welcome in. Joe, hello. Cambozo, welcome in. Just Jacob, welcome in. Thank you. You're welcome. So this is a fascinating topic. Yesterday I did a broadcast and I was introducing this book to you guys, and I know a lot of you are very excited about it. So what this new show is about is us stepping into our higher purpose and figuring out all the different ways that we can do that. All the different ways that we can sort of tune in to our higher purpose and activate our ultimate potential, which in essence is pretty much activating your DNA. And there's nothing like stuff like this that really gets me going. So I'm excited to be here today. And we're going to go over the second gene key today. And what that means is I'm gonna be reading it out loud to all of us. And the most important thing about the gene keys is the idea of contemplating these topics, contemplating these things that kind of come up that are mentioned in the book. And in a way, what I'm doing here is not necessarily guiding you through the gene keys, but more like discovering them along with you. And the other thing I wanted to go over as well is some of the terminology that he uses in the gene keys so that we can have a better idea of what he's talking about. Because there are a lot of terms that have to do specifically with the gene keys, and in order for us to understand the whole concept, which you'll get the bigger picture as we continue on with these broadcasts. But for now, understanding some of the general terms is probably a really good idea. So what are the gene keys? What are they? Right? Hey Cambozo, welcome in. I've read the activation sequence book. I read it completely. Hey guys, come on in. Thank you for coming in. And I also read all of my gene keys, especially the activation sequence. Hello, Willie, watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for participating in the chat, you guys. But basically, the gene keys are these 64, hey, Shelly, 64 concepts, right? Hey, Ian, welcome in. And they correspond, each gene key corresponds to a part of our DNA. That's why we've got the DNA strand right behind us. So it's like this idea that when you focus, when you contemplate these sort of quantum realities, that you're actually energetically in a frequency activating your DNA. And when you activate your DNA, you're in essence speeding up the process of evolution in your own body. I've woken. Nice. Thank you for inviting your followers, Shelly. Please share and invite. And remember, we will continue to play our Periscope game where if we hit 25,000 stars, I will play a song for you guys, and the person with the most super hearts will get to choose what song I play. I am a musician, so I play and sing the guitar. So saying that, discovering what your gene keys are can be done by going to genekeys.com, entering your birthday, your, hey guys, welcome in, your place of birth, your time of birth, and they'll basically use your astrology to decipher what your gene keys are. And so when you have this map that is your own specific map, you can then dive into the gene keys in a more personal way. The other thing that we can do in general, which is something that I've been inspired to do, is to go through each gene key day by day and just read what it is and let these words, these concepts kind of enter our energy field, enter our electromagnetic field, our mind, so that we can contemplate what these really are and how they can really help us. But so you guys go ahead and do that when you get a chance, and we're going to get into the second gene key here. Hey Fides, welcome in. So that's what the gene keys are. Each gene key corresponds to a part of our DNA and the DNA strand. And they also have pairs that are called, can't remember the phrase exactly, something about joined pairs or something like that. The concept is like that. So these pairs kind of work together and they're kind of opposites. But at the realm of their highest expression or their highest vibration, they actually sort of cancel out any negative expression of it. And the negative expression of each gene key is termed the shadow. So in the book, you're going to find, I'll show you the book one more time for those of you guys that are just coming in. It's called The Gene Keys by Richard Rudd, which you can purchase on Amazon or on, I got it at Barnes & Noble, although they had to order it for me. It wasn't like available there. But basically, there's a shadow, a gift, and a city for each of these gene keys. The shadow is basically the negative expression of it. It's when you're stuck in the lower vibration, in like the earth plane. You're lost in the concept of it, you're lost in the energy of it, and it's unbalanced. So you're not able to kind of step up out of that. And the truth is that the only way out is in. So with every shadow that you encounter with the gene keys, what is going on is you actually, in order to transcend, right, to transcend that shadow, to transcend that negative expression, you would have to dive right into it. First of all, to accept that it's a part of who you are and to surrender to it, because that energy of surrender is what actually activates your DNA. And then you transition into what they call the gift. Hey Renee, welcome in. And the gift of each gene key is a beautiful expression that when you get to this place, you're on a higher vibration, you're on a higher frequency, and you're feeling much, much better expressing this energy, right? And it means that your DNA has been able to transcend that shadow part, and you're able to see and feel and embody the gift. Now that doesn't mean, because as we know, life goes up and down, and there are times where we feel like very connected, very activated, and then there's times where we kind of fall off our high flying disc and we feel very low vibration, we kind of feel down. But it is important to note that we always have a choice to step out of that negative energy. And when you have the awareness of these higher realms, when you actually had a moment of experiencing the gift of of the Gene Key, you know what's out there. You know the possibilities. And you know that your DNA has activated for you to be able to house that energy. And what happens is more light comes into every cell of your body. It's like that mantra, Ang Sang Waheguru, a Kundalini Yoga mantra that's very powerful, that I love to sing, I love to chant. And Ang Sang Waheguru means every cell of my being vibrates to the energy of the universe, or vibrates with the energy of the universe. So what are you saying there, right? So like if we can decipher like this mantra, Ang Sang Waheguru, every cell of my being vibrates with the energy of the universe. What you're saying is that you are aligning yourself with the higher frequencies of the universe. And just like you find these little clues in different cultures, in different spiritualities, in different books, these little clues are the ones that are going to take you to your higher purpose. They're going to take you to that, towards that alignment. So what we're doing in this show is stepping into this energy in any way, shape, or form that it is coming to us intuitively. Right now, it is through this book called The Gene Keys. And then next time it'll be something else, right? But we're going to be on this topic for a while. So the third expression of each Gene Key is called the Siddhi. And the Siddhi is like, the actual definition of a Siddhi is a divine gift. There were these beings in ancient India, in the Eastern world, that actually were called Siddhis. And the reason they were called Siddhis is because they had like these magical powers. And these magical powers mean that you are at a very high vibration. You are at an awareness beyond the physical time-space reality, and you are actually able to embody the light of God inside you, right? So the Siddhis were, in a way, sort of ascended masters. Or another way of saying it, hey Karina, another way of saying it is all ascended masters had divine gifts, and they were able to embody these divine gifts and in their human form. So it's a little bit like bringing heaven, sorry about the barking, bringing heaven to earth. And that's the point. That's ascension, right? We can grow, we can evolve, right? It's an evolutionary process that you are literally, by learning about this, accelerating within you. You're accelerating your evolution by contemplating these topics, however form, in whichever form they are presented to you. So you can be expressing the shadow of the Gene Key, you can be expressing the gift of the Gene Key, and you can be expressing the Siddhi of the Gene Key with just the divine gift. Yesterday we talked about the first Gene Key, which moves from entropy to syntropy. Entropy being more of like this numbness feeling. And then the leveling up of the frequencies took you into freshness, this expression of freshness of life, and eventually into the full Siddhi expression, which was beauty. So watch that replay if you missed it from yesterday, so you can get the discussion of the first Gene Key. So let's actually get into the second Gene Key. And there's 64 total Gene Keys, which is going to make for a very long journey for us here on Periscope and on my YouTube channel. So I hope that you enjoy these broadcasts. And if you guys have any questions, just throw them up on the screen, okay? We're here to have a discussion as well as to learn about these topics. The most important thing that you want to do is, when you hear this information, allow yourself to contemplate it. That's really all you have to do. As you contemplate, you will start to awaken those higher vibrations within you, wake up the cellular structure, and you'll vibrate higher and higher. And we know that, hey Mendel, welcome in. We know that vibrating higher and higher, it makes you lighter. That's the energy of ascension. You become lighter. So the second Gene Key. Why 64? Because it's like the 64 genes of the DNA strand. What are they called? Not the codons, but literally like there's one on the right, one on the left, and they go through the DNA strand. and those are like, that's the coding, right? The coding of your DNA. There's 64 of those, and that's why they actually are 64. So this is why I'm calling this broadcast The Awakening, discovering the higher power of your DNA, uncovering or unlocking the power of your DNA. So and another thing I would mention before we move on is that these gene keys, this whole book is actually like an evolved version of the I Ching, a modern version of the I Ching. So if you guys know the I Ching, it's an ancient, yes, yeah, it's an ancient book that is sort of like an oracle. A lot of people use it like an oracle. They'll just like open it up to a page and read the wisdom in it, right? And it's more of like an energetic transmission, like a poetry transmission. This book explains the I Ching in a way that is so much more relatable to us in our modern life. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So let's talk about this second gene key. The second gene key is called returning to the one. Hey Bonnie, welcome in. The shadow of this gene key is dislocation. So you'll feel like you're dislocated. The gift is orientation. So instead of feeling you go from feeling dislocated to feeling like, well, I know where I am. I'm oriented, right? And then the city expression of it, which is the divine gift, is unity. It's like all becomes one. Hey Sam Production, welcome in. The programming partner of this gene key is the first gene key. So the first and the second are programming partners. The codon ring is called the ring of water. And the two codons that correspond to the ring of water, oh thanks, are the second gene key and the 8th gene key. The physiology of this gene key is the sternum. So you're talking about right here. And the amino acid is okay, this is where it's going to get me. Phenylalanine. Hey Batman, welcome in. We're going to talk first about the second shadow. The second shadow is called dislocation. As you see it, so it changes. And the other thing I wanted to do, when I don't have my pencil, it's okay. Thank you. Is underline the important stuff, or maybe I'll just highlight. Do I even have my highlighter? On your gene map, those numbers are the gene keys that dominate you. Yeah, so if you got your specific map of the gene keys, those gene keys are basically like what you've been imprinted with when you were born. So it's like, so when you discover the gene keys of your individual map, you actually are able to unlock your higher purpose, your individual higher purpose. But knowing all of the gene keys is very important, and that's why we're going through all of them. I did the chart but couldn't understand it. I have to look closer. You won't be able to understand it just by looking at it. You have to embark on the journey. So you'll have to buy the book and you'll have to listen, you know, either buy, it's on Audible. The big book is on Audible, this big book. And then the other one is, you can't get it on Audible, but you can buy it on Amazon. There's 3 different parts to your chart, 3 different sections. The first one is called the activation sequence. The second one is called the Venus sequence. And the third one is called the Pearl sequence. So when you look at your map, hey Carla, welcome in. When you look at your map, and once you get this book, you'll actually be able to start to differentiate between the 3 different sequences. The first one, which is called the activation sequence, is hey Don, is basically the one that that is your main structure of what makes up your purpose in this life. And it goes through these sections where you go from facing a challenge in your life, like you figure out what your challenge is, it points to your challenge. And then the second path is like you move through a breakthrough. And so in your life, when you discover what your challenge is, you activate your ability to move through, to break through that challenge and awaken in a higher dimension, right? And then the last part is what makes up your core stability. So that's the very first activation sequence, and that's the one that we'll be talking about that a little bit more in another broadcast. But to be a little more specific, that's kind of where we're going and what this is all about. Other genes don't pertain to us about the book. That's awesome, Renee. Hey there, what's the number after the decimal with the gene key? So the number after the decimal is called the lines. And are you talking about numerology? I am learning it. What we're talking about is the gene keys. And I love the questions, you guys. I love the questions. So we're talking about this specific book that was written by Richard Rudd. So the numbers that it's like 0.1, it can be 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, or 0.6. There's only 6 of them. And you'll see that in the very first, let me see if this picture, so here to here, to there, to there. Those 4 points in your chart are the activation sequence. This is like what makes up the core of you, the core of your purpose, right? And you'll notice that from this one to this one, like for example, I have a 0.2 on this one, you'll have a 0.2 on this one too. And it'll just kind of show you the pattern, right? So this is the first sequence. There's another one that's like kind of zigzaggy and it's like red circles. And there's another one that's like blue that creates this kind of triangle at the top. And that's the pearl sequence. So that's how you differentiate the 3 sequences. So it gets really detailed. But basically this book goes through each of the points of that you can have in the certain sphere. They call it sphere. So in the certain sphere, you can have a certain expression of it. So basically you'll have a specific gene key. So let's look at mine. The very top circle on my map is the 35th gene key. And then it's 35.2 for me. Hey there, Christine. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Which means that this book actually goes through. So you'll either be the creator, the dancer, the changer, the server, the fixer, or the teacher for the very first circle on the top. And I am the dancer, and it says the word on there of what it is. So basically this book tells you what that means. And each point, each line is a very specific sort of like, if your gene key is the 35th gene key, it's painted by this energy. And so when you start to contemplate the idea of the specific gene key that is on your chart, you'll be able to say, okay, well, this is the main expression of it, right? The shadow, the gift, and the city. And also on top of it, this is another way that I personally express this. So I express the 35th gene key with the energy of the dancer, which is like flowing, moving, right? So that's pretty much what those mean. But that's a great question. So every day we're going to go in deeper and deeper into this topic, and we're going to be learning it together. The cool thing is that I actually read this book already, and I'm able to answer your questions, and that's really cool. But honestly, like I'm really new to this as well. But Renee, the server is another one of the lines. It's line 4. And let's see if I can read a little bit of, you have an innate ability to influence other people. Depending on your attitude, this can either push people away or draw them towards you. The realm of the 4th line is people. So it is important that you learn to listen to others. Whatever your life's work gene key, its healthiest expression is through service. For you, service can mean many things. It can, for instance, be about quality, refinement, or courtesy. Or it can be as obvious as being in a service profession. The server is an archetype that clearly involves the giving of your gifts for the sake of others. In other words, you are really in it because you love to see someone else smile. So that was very specific to Renee. I know Dawn has actually that one too. So that's why this book is essential as well as the gene keys. So let's get into the second gene key so we can learn about this other. Does anybody have the second gene key in their chart? If you guys are the ones that got the chart? I wonder, I don't think I do. You're a server too, Karina? Yeah, nice. So I don't think I have the second gene key. I know I have the first, the 63rd, and the 64th. I own 2 service businesses. Yeah, there you go. So you'll start, it's really cool. When you get to reading it more detail, you're going to be like, whoa, this really like helps me. And when you look at the shadows, that's where your deepest growth is going to happen. When you start to become aware and conscious of what shadows like are the ones that are underlying your ability, like they underline basically why, they explain why you're not able to move forward in your spiritual evolution, because you're stuck in the expression of the shadows and you don't understand what's going on. Because in that state, it's like you have blinders on and you can't see why you're doing what you're doing. The moment you become aware of why you're doing what you're doing, you change the energy and it becomes to shift in a different direction. And the awareness is what starts to activate your DNA so that you evolve. I don't have the second either. I don't know what that means. Oh, okay, got it. So we're going to read about this second gene key, which is returning to the one. And all of this stuff has like amazing information and you're going to love it. Just because you don't have it in your chart does not mean you should not read this information or know this information. Or better yet, contemplate this information. Good, Renee. So here we go. The second shadow is called dislocation. As you see it, so it changes. As the most archetypally feminine of all the 64 gene keys, the second gene key and the journey it represents contain a beautifully simple distillation of cosmic wisdom. If you wanted to describe the nature of humanity and the reason for your existence to an alien being, you would have to look no further than this second gene key. As the first gene key tells the story of the great masculine principle of energy and light, the second gene key grounds this story in the world of form. Even at the shadow level of consciousness, this gene key teaches us that there is a purpose to everything in existence. At no point in evolution has anything ever occurred that was not a part of a huge interconnected plan. This is the truth that resides within the feminine principle. It is the binding force of all the seemingly disparate cells and events within existence, and in this sense, it represents the great motherly embrace that pulls us all into a single unity. Your personal resonance to this great truth of our unity determines the overall frequency passing through your DNA. Whether you believe it, deny it, wish for it to embody it, wish for it or embody it, the truth does not change. There is a force within the universe that choreographs everything, and it is found right inside you. The second shadow is the shadow of dislocation, which is an interesting word. It implies both the sense of being lost in time and space and of dismemberment. However, when you feel lonely, cut off, afraid, or dejected, you have never actually lost your way. It just feels that way. The shadow state is really only a human perspective rooted in your biological functioning. There is not a single moment in your life that is not perfectly in harmony with all creation. Neither is there the slightest possibility that you can make a wrong decision or take a wrong turn in life. It is all simply nuances in your biology. Your biology determines your perception, and your perception is the measuring stick for your evolutionary frequency. Evolutionary frequency refers to the current state of advancement of your awareness. Human awareness is following an evolutionary curve. It began as a primitive form of instinct rooted in our animal origins, and it took a great leap at a certain point in history as the brain began to evolve and we moved into this current phase as thinkers. We have now attained our zenith as thinkers and are preparing for another great leap. The leap into a new biological awareness rooted in the nerve ganglia of the solar plexus. you have to understand where you have come from if you are to see where you are going. And where you are going is into the awareness of the unity and oneness of all beings. It is such a paradox. You have never left the state of oneness, and yet the operating system within human biology does not currently allow you to feel this continual sense of connection. It is tempting to look at so-called primitive human awareness, that of the Aboriginal tribal groups still left across our planet, and dream of the return to that primal awareness that existed long before the human brain developed so rapidly. Most Aboriginal cultures do not live with a sense of separation from life itself. So modern human beings are often left with the sense that we have somehow gone adrift. We tend to think that there is something wrong with the direction we have taken, exemplified by the massive technological revolution that is sweeping us before it. But the rapid development of the human brain is a vital bridge to an even greater leap in awareness. Even so, the mind is our great blind spot. In evolving the way it has, it prevents us from inhaling that other instinctive awareness. And so across the world, a great fear has taken root. The fear that humanity might actually destroy itself. The fear that we are going in a bad direction comes from the second shadow. It is because we now see ourselves as separate from nature that we feel this great collective fear. Our perception dislocates us from the truth. This collective fear pervades our individual lives as well. The second shadow, along with its programming partner, the first shadow of entropy, pulls us away from living in a state of trust and connectedness, and also reinforces this sense of isolation through our actions. Actions that come out of trust have very different results from actions that come out of fear. Ain't that the truth? The former creates more energy for everyone, and the latter takes energy away from everyone. In your personal life, if you allow it, the second shadow will affect every decision you make, pulling you into an interference frequency. This means that you don't appear to be in synchronicity with life. So you miss opportunities that would serve you and end up in the receptive patterns that can be very draining for all concerned. However, the second shadow of dislocation is an integral part of the script for life. It actually allows you to experience being out of the universal flow, even though this experience is an illusion. Ultimately, even the level of frequency that courts chaos is part of the overall fabric of existence. The second shadow allows you to witness your own helplessness as you seek the escape of the feeling of dislocation and loneliness. As soon as you enter deeply into this shadow world with your full and honest awareness, it magically appears to change. And that's exactly what I was talking about, that once you bring your awareness to it, you start to shift it, because now you're no longer unaware. You know what I mean? And thoughts are frequencies. Thoughts are vibrations. So when you start to focus your vibration on something different, your energy goes towards that, and you affect yourself at a cellular level. Your cells have to obey the dominant thought that you're having in the moment. Every cell of your being obeys your dominant thought. So if you're thinking like the negative emotions, the negative thoughts, your body is going to obey. So you're gonna feel sick, you're gonna feel like low energy, you're gonna feel tired, you're gonna feel constricted, right? But when you start to focus on higher frequency emotions, vibrations, your body has to obey your dominant thoughts. That's why these talking about when you bring your focus to the shadow and you accept that it's there, you actually shift something. And that's the energetic shift that will begin to take you in the direction of healing in a way that you've never been able to do before, because we don't understand healing in this way. We think healing is like taking medicine, or it's mostly just concerned with the physical body. It's not. And that's just the general idea of what we have of healing. But we don't realize all of our thoughts play a huge part in our healing. I know we're awakening to this, and a lot more of us are understanding that, and do feel like you can't just heal your body. Your body's not going to heal if your thought patterns aren't healed, right? So it's body, mind, spirit. That's why in all the yogic traditions, you hear this like body, mind, spirit. It's all together. It's all one thing. You can't address one thing without the other, right? And there's layers, right? So the physical body is like the layer that's at the lowest part, right? Because then you move into like your mental body and your heart, and then you move into like, you know, your aura and like your astral body, and like the awareness just keeps expanding and expanding to the point where when you get to those higher awareness, it's almost like you don't need a body anymore, right? You don't need a body because you've discovered a new energy, and that energy vibrates at such a high frequency, the body you can't have a body. Like it's interesting, but that's kind of why it is. Why do you think many ascended masters have like they've transcended their physical existence, their mental patterns, and have aligned themselves with this different reality? And so it's almost like you don't need to eat, you don't need to sleep, you don't need to drink, like you're just like, it's crazy, but that energy just like feeds you. Anyways, that was a little tangent there. As soon as you enter deeply into this shadow world with your full and honest awareness, it magically appears to change. This shift in your inner honesty precipitates a leap out of the mind and into a newer and far more expansive awareness. One needs to really grasp this insight. You do not change your reality through doing anything. There is a perceptual shift pre-wired into the DNA of every human being. And when it is activated, it occurs in spite of you, as an aspect of your biological evolution. At a certain point, your new awareness simply begins to open up. It does so gradually at first, but over time, it coincides with a remarkable improvement in the quality of your life. As you see it, so it changes. In the earliest versions of the I Ching that have come down to us, there appear to be quite a few anomalies with the more modern translations and sequences. One of the most interesting of these concerns is the ordering of the first and the second hexagrams. There is strong evidence that the oldest versions began with this second hexagram, representing complete yin. The patriarchal systems that translated the original text must have swapped the prime yin for the prime yang. Esoterically and mythically, it makes far more sense to begin with the feminine rather than the masculine. Again, it depends on your frequency. At the shadow frequency, the masculine always comes first, which becomes the way of distrust, separation, and force. The feminine approach, however, is based on unity, surrender, and trust, which are hallmarks of all higher frequencies. Furthermore, one of the translations of this hexagram, known as the kun, is the word field. This is a beautifully apt word to describe the second gene key because it represents the universal field in which we live. To move in harmony with this field is to be oriented, and to move out of harmony with the field is to be disoriented and dislocated. There's two ways to express these shadows. One of them is the repressive nature, in which you feel lost, and the other one is the reactive nature, in which you feel regimented. The two pattern nuances of the shadow, that of being lost or regimented, describe the state of the great majority of mankind. In the case of the repressed nature, Being lost describes the state of being out of alignment with one's true universal destiny. The repressive nature aptly describes the path of materialism and selfishness, which follows its own path without regard to the great environment. Our true destiny is to awaken out of our selfishness to our universality. Those with no sense of the spiritual dimension of life inhabit this state of being lost, and the byproduct of being lost is misery and suffering. Without the experience of a direct connection to the greater cosmic forces, one has nothing within to bolster one in dealing with life's trials. Life itself seems to have no purpose. Without a cosmic connection within one's being, one will always flounder in the world. When you are in your reactive nature, you are regimented. So let's find out what this is about. The reverse pole of this shadow is the enforcement of an external rhythm or structure over the top of life. This stems from deep anger that has never been resolved. Regimentation actually describes many of the world's great religions, which put themselves between an individual and their direct experience of the divine. Regimentation can also describe science, which attempts to organize life into some form of meaningful and logical framework. Anything that tries to control life and pin it down emerges from the reactive side of the second shadow. None of this is to say that religion and science are wrong, except that they serve to obscure the hidden harmony that lies within an individual. The true meaning and purpose of life is only to be found within one's heart, in the mystical experience of moving in perfect synchronization with all that is. And that's the shadow of dislocation. So now I'm going to read about the gift, which is orientation, which is the energy that you move into when you become aware of your shadow, you accept it, and you start to look for a new way of being. The second gift is orientation, which is also another way of saying it is mineral magnetism. And we'll read about what this means. So the whole process described in the second shadow involves orientation, the second gift. At the shadow frequency, you experience disorientation, whereas as you begin to reach into the gift dimension, you become reoriented. Again, as was discussed in the second shadow, there is no question of any doing on your part as this shift in your progress engages, even though it may feel to you as though you are doing quite a lot. Perhaps you started going to a therapist who helped you to see aspects of your shadow, which in turn began to change your decisions and therefore your life. Perhaps you discovered a great mystical, that's why you expect Jesus in your heart, right? Because the Christ consciousness is born out of the heart. Perhaps you started going to a therapist who helped you to see aspects of your shadow, which in turn began to change your decisions and therefore your life. Perhaps you discovered a great mystical system or a teacher who catalyzed this process. Perhaps it happened as a result of a personal crisis, or perhaps it just spontaneously occurred as a complete surprise to you. The point is that all human life follows the same archetypal pattern laid down inside your DNA. Evolution itself is drawing you inexorably along the path towards awareness of your unity and oneness. The gift of orientation has two faces. It either comes as a shift in your awareness that affects your actions, or it comes as a shift in your actions, which then catalyzes a shift in your awareness. Whichever tone you experience whichever tone your experience takes, there are a number of indicators that precede your permanently reciting the gift level of frequency. Let me read that again. Whichever tone your experience takes, there are a number of indicators that precede your permanently reciting at the gift level of frequency. Okay, so that's saying that depending on what experience you have is going to determine there's a way to see how you can actually leave from the shadow expression completely and be in the gift only, in the gift frequency. One of the key experiences that people have is an increased feeling and occurrence of synchronicity. That's your intuition. Synchronicity is the direct manifestation of the gift of orientation. It allows you to peep through the keyhole of existence and place yourself in a wider perceptual context. Synchronicities cannot be forcibly created, but flow out of the feminine nature of the second gift. In other words, they happen when you are not looking. As your awareness begins to operate at its highest biological level, through the solar plexus system, so you fall into an easier rhythm of life. You no longer feel dislocated, but begin to experience life in a more and more magical dimension. One of the other indicators of your rising awareness is to be found in the 8th gift of style. Through the chemical family known as the ring of water, the second gift shares a strong genetic link with the 8th gift, which presents as a new and original way of living. As you become oriented into a wider context, your real face begins to show itself in the world. Instead of being weighed down by your changing moods and commitments, you use them as a means of developing a new flair. You also begin to override the perceptions and projections of others. In short, you begin to enjoy life so much that this rising energy spills over into your life as a panache, a unique sense of individual style that is inimitable, and always fresh, if even at times a little dangerous. Your panache or style is a sign of another paradox, that as you come more into contact with your unity with all creatures, you also witness an enhancement in your own uniqueness, particularly through the creative process. The second gift has a special role within your DNA in that it creates a kind of attractor field around you. It not only unifies the microcosm with the macrocosm, but it also unites matter and spirit. A secret resides in the chemicals and amino acids for which this gene key codes. In every human being, there are certain minerals that have magnetic properties. And this second gift concerns the chemical composition and purpose of these minerals. These minerals in our bodies, and particularly those in our endocrine glands, appear to tell us how to live life in or out of harmony. For example, in the tissues of the pineal gland, biologists have discovered a ferrous chemical known as magnetite. This mineral has been proposed as a key in linking electromagnetic activity at cellular function. The fact that it has also been found in most animals suggests that all creatures have a built-in magnetic guidance system that keeps them in alignment with wider rhythms. It is through this magnetism that all life is linked, from the spin of the atom to the wheeling of the great galaxies. As the frequency through the second gift rises, you live more harmonically and electromagnetic power of your aura increases. The more you let go into the feminine yielding quality of this gift, the more universal power floods through you. Your timing becomes more and more fine-tuned, so much that if you find yourself out of harmony, the magnetic mineral transducers in your body immediately convey this to your brain. It is through the second gift that you can see the hidden agenda of life, to bring all beings into awareness of their unity. The magnetic attractor field around a person who is centered in the second gift exerts a powerful effect on those around it, meaning the harmony is catching. This is why people who are deeply surrendered and attuned to life's processes can also be empowering. They can intuitively sense how surrendered or resistant others are to the great truth of their universality. Over time, such people bring others into their own personal harmony through the magnetic power of their aura. That's cool. So that is the gift orientation. And now we're going to read about the second siddhi, which is unity or divine logic. Oh, I'm interested in this. The second siddhi, so siddhi means divine gift. The second siddhi describes the experience of enlightenment or awakening. It is the cornerstone of all the siddhic states, being as it is the essence of the divine feminine. The divine feminine pole has a great mystery within it, because in a certain sense it cannot be said to be a pole at all. The masculine pole is very simple and straightforward. You're welcome, Kristen. But the feminine is beyond any sense of reason and understanding. The masculine principle is really an externalization of the feminine rather than a duality. At the siddhic level, there is no such thing as duality. Duality is destroyed by a strange kind of divine logic. At this heightened level of awareness, mathematics works differently than on the mental level. 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, but always makes 3. The only numbers that really exist at the siddhic level are 1 and 3. 1 is 1. It is consciousness resting in its own nature. It is the ultimate state of yin or femininity, or as this second hexagram is often known, it is the receptive. Words such as receptive, feminine, yielding, or mother can be misleading as we tend to understand them as poles with opposites. However, they hint at what lies beyond them, so we need to consider them in a different way if we are to grasp what the second siddhi really means. This is something that can only be grasped intuitively. Thus, when the one externalizes itself as a manifestation in form, it has not created a duality, but a trinity. Every duality is really a relationship, and every relationship is really a 3. There is a man, a woman, and instantly there is also a couple, the relationship itself. In divine mathematics, the number 2 is always an illusion. It cannot logically exist. If you can say anything at all about the number 2, you might say it is a bridge, a dynamic process that is instantaneously transmuted before it is ever born. These are concepts that cannot be approached with ordinary logic. Just like the quantum particles in physics that avoid our definition because they appear to be linked to our very perceptual apparatus, oneness cannot be comprehended, only lived. Enlightenment is not an experience. This is a sentence to meditate upon like a Zen koan. If you see oneness as an experience to be attained, or that may one day happen to you, then you are caught within that straight line between 2 points. The third thing is transcendence. It does not occur to you, rather it negates you. Ironically, transcendence does not take you away from life, as its name might suggest. It places you right in the heart of life, where you have always been. It unifies all opposites, ends all riddles, all mysteries, just as they are, and brings a sense of trust that cannot be described. One cannot even really use a word like trust to describe the siddhi of unity, because trust suggests duality again, that there is somehow a truster and a trustee. This is the wonderful dilemma of the siddhic state. As do all the siddhis, the second siddhi carries a special mythology when it manifests through an individual in the world of form. As one of the primary pillars of our DNA, the life of one who lives within this siddhi is of great relevance to our evolutionary history. These beings exert an enormous magnetic influence on our entire planet, Although it may sound like science fiction, the expression of the second city in a human being actually changes the direction of the earth as it moves through space. The second city can only therefore be born in the world of humanity if our whole species makes a leap in consciousness. Let me repeat that. The second city can only therefore be born into the world of humanity if our whole species makes a leap in consciousness. In order for such a leap to be made, we have to wait for a certain set of geometric coordinates to line up in the cosmos. These are the alignments that astrologers are always seeking to find and understand in the heavens. Whoa, we're getting deep now. The second city is mythically represented by the Star of Bethlehem in the Christ myth. Shit. Now I feel like tingling all over my body. The second, other cultures also have stories of great beings connected to the appearance or alignment of stars and comets in the heavens. Thank you for inviting, Carla. This city, therefore, tells us something about our ultimate state of consciousness. Yeah, exactly, Kristen. She says, I need to leave. Come on, Cosmos, bring it on. Me too, I'm ready. Hey, Movie Trav. All right, the Earth itself is on a trajectory through the galaxy, right? At certain points in our time frame, it moves into alignment with other geometric aspects of the cosmos. The ancient Mayans, for example, believed that in the year 2012, the Earth would be in direct alignment with the hub of our galaxy, which for them signified the birth of an age of heightened consciousness. Hey there, thank you for the super hearts. As such junctures in time and space, the second city may well incarnate again on our planet, and in the case of 2012, it is most likely to do so through a whole generation rather than through a single individual. Light workers, people. Light workers, star children, right? Star seeds. According to the planetary genetic time clock that is derived from the I Ching, we will experience another great axis point in the year 2027. As the precession of the equinoxes transits into the 55th gene key, opening up the potential for a genetic shift in humanity. Both dates, 2012 and 2017, are hugely, and 2027, just kidding, 2012 and 2027 are hugely significant within the time frame of the publication of this book, but many axis points will follow in the near and far future. The second city is the original nature of consciousness itself, and it manifests as a highly beautiful plan unfolding in time and space, swept along by the currents of evolution. All such mythic journeys echo the journey of the earth and of the universe. And as they begin by leaving the warm comfort of the mother and the home, so they must one day return again to that same embrace. This, indeed, is our final destiny as a species, to realize our state of oneness and unity with all that is. That is the ascension. That's the ascension story. It's not just one individual. It's not like Jesus ascended or an ascended master like Kuan Yin or Isis, right? This becomes the entire realm of humanity all ascending, right? And we're like moving in that direction. This stuff is fascinating to me. This stuff is crazy fascinating. So that was the second city, returning to the one. And remember that the first and the second, not city, the first and the second gene keys are programming partners. So it's like studying them together helps you to awaken their energies, because they're like polar opposites. The first is like the masculine, the second is like the feminine, right? That's what mankind needs in chaotic times. Well, the chaotic times are a sign of the change. He calls it the Great Change. You know, a lot of cultures call it the Aquarian Age. This book's fascinating. So that was just the Gene Keys, and that's pretty much all we have time for today, because I am waiting for my friend to come over, and I'm gonna read my astrology chart and Dawn's astrology chart, and then the day of our wedding astrology. It's actually really exciting stuff that's happening. But these shows, and I appreciate all of you guys for being here live in this broadcast. So these shows are going to be happening every single day. I'm going to try to find the perfect time to do the show. This time, yesterday, I think it was like, I can't remember the time. It was a little bit later, and that might be a better time. Or maybe even earlier during the day, like during the morning. Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's like our DNA activating. So I'm going to find the perfect time. I'm going to play around with different times during the day, and we'll see which one is like the one that best sort of attracts, the energy, and the what do you call it? The activates within us this energy of awareness and evolution and expansion. That's what I want for this broadcast. I want to be able to find the time that actually works really well for all of us to be like ready to listen to the wisdom of this book, which is called The Gene Keys. But this specific broadcast and this new show on my Periscope channel and on my YouTube channel, I'm going to be broadcasting on both, is called The Awakening, Unlocking the Higher Power of Your DNA. And I am Jai Gobind, and I am your channel for grace. And I appreciate you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Dawn, for the super hearts. Thank you, Travis, for the super hearts. And thank you, Ellie, for the super hearts. Watch the replay of yesterday's, because we read the first Gene Key. And also, between now and the next broadcast, see if you can order these books, because this is what's going to help you move forward with me better and more informed. Although I totally don't mind if you guys don't get the books at all and you just watch these broadcasts, because there's a lot of information that you're going to learn. Oh yeah, so my YouTube channel, that would be awesome. My YouTube channel is called Channel for Grace, and I would love for you guys to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Christine says, a watch party was talking Gene Keys yesterday too. Guess I need to get the book. Yep. That's exactly what is happening, Kristen. The book is speaking to you, and it's speaking to a lot of you. So let's get this book together, and this is what we're doing. We're just flowing through the journey of the Gene Keys. There's so much in here, you guys. So much in here that it's going to take about 2 years of studying them to really like start to get the hang of it and understand it really well. But what we're going to do tomorrow is we'll continue on with the third Gene Key, and if we have time, I want to go over some of those terms that I was talking about that I'm not going to have time to do today. Can I digitally add the book series on my Kindle? I'm not sure. It's possible. I'm not sure. You'd have to look on Amazon. I didn't look for the Kindle version. I wanted the hard copy, but it's quite possible that it's available on Kindle. And that would be that's cool too, because the Kindle is always a little bit cheaper and you're not wasting any paper. Otherwise, the books that I would recommend to begin with are The Gene Keys by Richard Rudd and The Gene Keys Golden Path, a step-by-step guide to your hologenetic profile, The Activation Sequence, Discovering Your Genius by Richard Rudd. So the Gene Keys on this one. Thanks. God bless you too, Gemini. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will see you all again tonight. Remember to follow at Fem Yoga. Her name is Taylor. I am on her channel doing a new show on Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I will share it through my channel, so you'll see me on the screen, but it'll be on Fem Yoga's channel. And what I'm doing tonight is part 2 of our sound healing journey. We started last night. We're going to do another evening tonight of sound healing. So make sure that you tune into that. It'll be a fun broadcast. I'm reading the book you told me. Nice. How's it going, Carla? I hope you're enjoying it. It's an intense book. Congratulations on Femme Yoga Show. Yeah, thank you. She is growing her channel, so that's really cool as well, to be a part of different communities and to be collaborating with different periscopers. People, yes, people that are all really into promoting themselves and reaching further out, you know, to more audience, to more members, and coming up with really cool content for you guys. So it feels really, really good to be a part of this whole sort of evolution of what's going on Periscope. So, and this show was, oh, all the best, you too, Kristen. This show was basically designed for us to dive into these really cool topics together. So thank you, thank you. It's healing. Yes. That's what I wanted for you, Carla. So love you guys so much. And I will see you again tonight at the Femme Yoga channel. I don't know that I go live on my channel again today. If I don't, then I will definitely see you guys tomorrow. Sat Nam, and thank you for tuning in. Ciao.